And welcome back. I am Amisi Nyamiche Thompson on the AM show, and this segment is for news review. In the studio with me is a well-renowned child's rights advocate, Auntie Joyce Lanyon. I'm so happy she's here in the studio with us this morning to discuss some of the news making the waves in the country. Auntie Joyce, you're welcome to the show.
Thank you very much, Mami.
I'm so delighted to have you here in person, you know, right?
It's my pleasure.
But how's you? Oh, thank you. How's the new year been for you?
It's been good. Usually when we start the year, we start with certain uncertainties. You are now putting things together, forecasting, planning, and hoping that whatever you are planning for, takes shape in earnest. So for now, we are planning and projecting and, putting all the strategies in place to kickstart what we are used to doing. So,
but you also know that there's this Guinness World Record craze in Ghana currently, right?
It's unbelievable the way all Ghanaians are so much hooked on this program.
Yeah.
And want to hit the world stage with either cooking,
I know.
Cookathon.
This month alone, at least we know that about 80 Ghanaians have applied to undertake a certain, a sport or something within 4 days after a quiz, competition. So you can imagine. But if you're given the opportunity, what will you do?
I will support. I will be an ardent supporter for whoever takes up.
Yeah, child rights activist. What will you do? Will you do some speech in maybe 3 days or, 1 week for us to drive home a concern?
Yeah, if I should do advocacy on any of these things to vie for the Guinness Book of Records,
yeah,
I will continue to do my advocacy. So a lot of talk, a lot of water, and I don't know.
But so we'll call that one write-a-thon.
Write-a-thon, right. Yeah.
Anyway, so Auntie Joyce, let's delve into the news. We'll start with My Joy Online, as we always do. And in our top story, it says that the president or the presidency has responded to allegations of a deliberate attempt to orchestrate politically motivated changes within the hierarchy of the Ghana Armed Forces. And the claim suggested an intention to use the military to brutalize citizens during the December elections. Now, the publication also alleged that a meeting at the presidency on Tuesday to discuss these purported politically motivated changes. But in a reaction, the presidency has denied these allegations and says they always do these meetings to give the security agencies the opportunity to wish the president well and vice versa. Auntie Joyce, when you read this story or when you heard about it, how did you react to it?
Thank you very much. And I would say good morning to our cherished viewers and wish everybody, including the Joy team, a happy new year. The presidency reposes a certain authority to drive policies and make the necessary changes through the advice of certain technical persons that work with him. So I believe whatever the president is doing is not on his own evolution or strength as the president per se, but there are certain people, advisors behind these decisions. But currently the country is so much polarized that even decisions or policies that will inure to the benefits of the citizenry, we run diverse meanings into it to say that the president is rather using a certain strategy to subdue a certain group of the populace in the bid to probably win an election. I mean, election democracy is there for everybody to partake. And it doesn't go to the benefit of any group of persons if the right structures are put in place. So I don't see where the military comes in here, except in certain critical and serious cases. Otherwise, we have our police who are there to oversee the electioneering processes. Right. And then we have the Electoral Commission who makes sure that the whole electoral system is run in a free and fair manner.
Right.
So if there are changes in the military, well, probably based on the technical advice or certain security concerns, or probably those officers are even due for pension, and so these replacements will have to take place. It's just like the judiciary where we had 3 judges replacing others who had just gone home.
Yes.
So if you ask me, I think the president is doing these changes based on advice from his technical people, or technical people, and the persons are rather due. And whatever the president does, people will read meanings that probably he's trying to bring his own persons to take over the process so that in times of election they can. But from the little I know, the military or the armed forces are not the people who oversee elections in Ghana. So I would say that the president has done what he had to do, but then you have people coming in with diverse thoughts and reading meaning into what the president has done.
Why do you think anyone will purport such a thing, especially at this time of the year? And it's a normal thing the president does. Why will anyone read such meanings into it?
Yeah, currently the whole system is so much polarized in terms of, politics, where people are looking at instances to entrench themselves, even where their performances are unacceptable, even where people sense a certain level of corruption and no action is taken, where people think some people have had enough in terms of the governance of certain government agencies, and that they need to step back for others to come in with new ideas. People have been advocating for changes here and there, but it's like nothing is being done. One person cannot hold an office for 8 good years when people are clamoring that there should be a change. So in these cases, when the confidence level is lost, then whatever it is that is coming from the presidency or the particular party in power, people read meanings and they doubt the specific theme or idea or agenda in terms of what is being done and whether it's right or it's just a way of preparing for the next election where they can have their way. But I do not think so, because the structures for electioneering process are in place, and the military are the last people who would come in. Of course, the last election we saw military men brutalized.
In fact, what we do is we collaborate with them to give protection in areas that they are needed. We've been collaborating, but ideally they shouldn't be involved in political elections or other elections whatsoever. But let me ask you, if the president should go ahead to even make changes at this time, what do you make of the timing of such changes?
Like I said, I'm not part of the board or the technical men or the advisors, and the national security concerns that are coming up, such that certain structures should be put in place in terms of the army. But clearly, you are agreeing with me that the army or the military will be the last group of persons that would intervene in an electioneering process. And that is very clear. So instances that we've had the military brutalizing citizens for one reason or the other, and there is no action taken, it makes the citizenry think that we've had examples where the military have come in to brutalize persons and no action has been taken. So probably it might be a way the president will want to use to, subvert the citizens' will by changing leadership, and then that leadership buying into his agenda and prosecuting a certain agenda.
At this time, what difference does it make anyway?
You never know. They are always projecting and conjecturing and planning ahead to make things happen their way, politicians per se. So we cannot fault them, because power sweets, and it's very difficult to lose power. So, but notwithstanding what I'm saying, I just want to put it out there that these changes might be purely due to certain national security reasons or certain advice that will inure to the benefit of all Ghanaians and not to a group of persons who are hungry for power.
And to state that the presidency has liberty to do whatever, is right for the nation.
That's it.
Well, interesting. This other story on myjoyonline.com, it says panic grips Sefi when Chi residents after a sheep, delivers a lamb with deformities. Now, the residents in this region were gripped with fear after the sheep in the community delivered an offspring with scary deformities. The mysterious incident, which occurred on Wednesday, had residents witness a lamb with 2 heads, 2 mouths, 4 eyes, and 2 ears. And speaking to the owner of the sheep, she said, that's Adjoa Abrefi, she said she's reared a flock of sheep for over a decade and had never seen this mysterious, incident before. And she's scared of what's happening. In fact, they think it's spiritual. And when you see something of the sort, what quickly comes to mind?
Well, for me, issues around malformation and disability is rare in human, much as real in animals. You have people giving birth to children with probably 1 arm, or 2 heads with 1 neck, and so on and so forth. So there are issues around deformities that might have happened during the incubation period of that, if it's a human, yes, or an animal. So for the community to believe that probably is strange, I will link my little knowledge with what I have acquired whilst in school in terms of issues around disability and impairment to a similar situation. That probably this was a situation or a condition where things did not go right when the fetus was being formed.
But the owner says she's been, rearing these sheep for as long as she can remember, over 10 years. And if she did something wrong, I'm sure she'll be able to tell us. But do you not think there may be environmental factors leading to this?
I was just coming to that,
Right.
Issues around galamsey. We've been told that this galamsey menace that we are overlooking and overshadowing for this period will end up affecting us in terms of human beings because the chemical components that is transmitted from plants to animals is going to cause issues similar to what this goat, this lamb gave birth to. And of course, this lamb is feeding on these plants and drinking from probably.
In fact, let me hold your guns there. The municipal veterinary officer, Dr. Emmanuel Kingsley Bansal, explained that the incident could be the result of 3 factors. The birth, according to him, the sheep gave birth as a result of intake of heavy metals such as mercury and cyanide, also inbreeding and poor medication. So you're right. And this, gives rise to the calls for some of these things to be checked. Don't you think so?
Absolutely. We might think the effect is not now, but here we are manifesting it in animals. And these are the animals that we feed on with time. These animals also feed on the environmental plants and all those things. And drinking this polluted water with heavy metals, mercury and all that. So clearly, if our own animals, domestic animals, are coming up with this, it's scary. And we really, really, really will have to lift up the fight against this environmental degradation, pollution, mercury in almost all plants, heavy metals. Think about it and change our ways in terms of degrading the land that we are feeding on, the land that our forefathers bequeathed us. Now, cocoa production is a problem. All the cocoas that are coming up with heavy metals, they will not cross the border because nobody will buy that cocoa. And issues like this, people give, very soon humans will have 2 necks or maybe one eye.
I pray it doesn't get there.
Well, unless it gets scary for Ghanaians to appreciate that this galamsey thing the land degradation must stop. My sister, we are getting there, and it's scary. The water that we drink are polluted. Some of the pumping stations have been closed down because they just cannot filter the water anymore.
Well, it's already happening, though. You know, there have been, reported cases of pregnancies, fetuses that didn't, form well. Some had to be aborted and whatnot because of some of these deformities. But we've been, hitting on this for as long as we can remember. Even Erastus Asaridonko, just recently, this morning, we've even reported of some of these activities in the Area forest, and it's ongoing. What else can we do?
I mean, our leaders will have to bite the bullets and say it in plain words that galamsey must stop. If you travel around the Kede to Adonkrono area going, you hear the sound. You hear the sound and see the water flowing from a certain source, muddy.
Right.
Yet there is nothing. The assembly is there. Opinion leaders are there. Assemblymen who are to be the watchmen for some of these things are just there. So we will keep on saying it until we are wiped away with all this kind of menace. We will keep on saying it till the right thing is done, because galamsey is becoming a menace over all of us. If you say you don't live there and it's not your problem, I'm afraid the plantain that is coming, the oranges that are coming there, from those places to the cities, whatever, even bread has heavy metals in them.
Bread?
Bread.
Which kind of bread is this?
Ghana bread, we are told.
Auntie Joyce,
whether it's the water they used to.
Oh, wait. No, wait. Bread, as in bread in Accra?
Yeah, Ghana bread.
You've seen bread with metals in them?
Well, no, I've not seen, but the allegation is that, or the statements that we are hearing is that even bread, some of the bread we are eating have heavy metals in them.
This is crazy. And I thought, bread.
Bread. It's coming from one of the sources that we read from.
Anyway, I think we'll still be discussing the impact of galamsey, and definitely we will be delving more into this very, very strange birth, lamb birth in the Seshwi area. But moving on, Auntie Joyce, January 8th has been declared another holiday, constitutional holiday, like you already know. The Interior Minister says that Monday will be observed as a public holiday to mark the annual Constitutional Day. And the ministry said the statutory holiday was moved to a weekday because the scheduled day, January 7, falls on Sunday. Now, I know we've often talked about this. Many public holidays, less, productivity. And the thing falls on Sunday. Why should we move it to Monday? What's your take on that?
I remember those days when I was in the UK and certain public holidays would fall on a certain day, like I think Friday or so. They moved so that the following Monday or something like that is taken as the holiday. We celebrate holidays, but what the holidays is about, we do not make time to have a discussion on it, to discuss it, to impact on citizenry, so that when we say Constitutional Day, what exactly are we talking about? Are we following the tenets of democracy where the Constitution is our bedrock for every activity that we do, or we usurp certain powers and then just go through without looking at what the Constitution is saying or the law is up to? Are we separating powers the way we should, or a certain arm of the government is taking over? Everything, our parliamentary proceedings, how are we seeing it? Are parliamentarians representing us well enough in relation, our policies in line with the Constitution, certain acts that are pending, that are supposed to be passed, and there are all manner of meanings being read because of somebody's personal agenda on those laws. You know, these are things that should come to the front table because Ghana must grow. We have been through independence for how many years now? Can we say boldly that we are the foundation, or we are the people, the champions of constitutional practices, or what? I mean, a few discussions should come out so that people will appreciate why this day. And of course, whenever we get these holidays, we should not lose sight of how much is going down the drain because we've taken time off to take a holiday and how it affects national development. But if you ask me, if we are going to celebrate such a day, there should be advocacy on why we are celebrating that day. There should be discussion for people to appreciate that this day is not just one of those holidays, but it's meant for this purpose. And are all those, alluding to democratic governance, are they practicing this kind of democracy using whatever the Constitution has stated? Is there equal rights? Is there universal adult suffrage? And all those things,
But where did it even come from? That if it falls on Sunday or Saturday, it should be moved to a working day. I mean, some of us work even on the weekends. So for us, there's nothing like a working day or not, because it's a 24/7 kind of work. But to be moved, it's a day. It has to fall on that day. That day is a day. Why should it move to, a working day?
Yeah, I appreciate what you are saying. I mean, Ghanaians love holidays, especially when we've just come out of Christmas and New Year and people are still in the holiday mood. They would want to have 1 or 2 more days too. But I think they are following a constitutional provision that says that this day should be moved to this day, or maybe it's a policy that when it comes, it falls on a Friday, it should be moved to. Otherwise, I don't see the difference. It's still a holiday and people wouldn't go to work. Productivity will be low and other social economic issues will also. Or people are just clamoring for this day to have a bit of respite to consolidate their preparation for the upcoming months ahead.
Right. Now let's head to Graphic Online. It says Ghana's official creditors are scheduled to meet on Monday to discuss restructuring some $5.4 billion loans to the country. Now, 3 sources told Reuters a key step needed to secure its next tranche of funding from the International Monetary Fund. The bilateral lenders, including the governments of China and France, who co-chair the official creditor committee, hold around a quarter of Ghana's $20 billion external debt earmarked for restructuring. Now, the meeting is again expected to focus on an agreement about a cut-off date, quote, a date after which new loans from bilateral creditors will not be restructured, the sources with knowledge of the matter said. Now, defining this date has emerged as a stumbling block for Ghana and its debt rework. Some creditors are said to prefer December, that was last year, as cut-off, with Ghana defaulted earlier than that, according to sources. However, others push for March 24. Now, this has been a back and forth going on and on, getting some of our creditors to kind of agree with us to restructure our debts so we can get this money from IMF. But it looks like we keep going back. We take 1 step forward, go 10 steps backwards. Have you been following this, and what's your take on it?
It's rather sad, when the experts do some advocacy on our public debt and how we are going and where we are going in terms of GDP. Everybody should be interested so that we put a halt or we slow down on some of these loans that we are taking. Here we are. We started with this IMF thing, and they keep on pushing the dates, pushing. Now China and others are coming in. It tells you that there is a point where you need to pull the brakes for national development. Currently, the system is so low in terms of resources to support development in our communities, in our regions. And so when the experts are clamoring that we should watch and that we are getting to the tipping end, we need to listen to them. Here we are now, we need resources to do what we want to do. But they now have the power or the authority to say, no, we are not agreeing to this date. We rather want to push it to this date. And the creditor is not just one person, but a number of countries. Yes. And they talk among themselves, these bilateral people. So it's rather unfortunate. We are all learning from this, that next time that we want to go out there for something of the sort alone, we need to consider what the experts are saying so that we don't get to that tipping end where we will now be going with cap in hand and pleading for nations to forgive us our debts and renegotiate for other things, and then they give us their deadlines and timelines, which is affecting our development processes. So if you ask me, I would say that I think it's a lesson that we will learn, because I remember when the experts, the financial experts, the economic experts were talking about the debt to GDP ratio, and that where we were traveling to was very dangerous and slippery, and so we should pull the brakes. But we kept on doing it, and this is where we are. It has affected everything. We were told there wouldn't be any haircuts, but there are haircuts all over the place. People are suffering.
Were you affected in any way?
No, please.
Oh, thank goodness.
Yes. But, you know, certain investments that I have is being affected. They are not paying whatever they are supposed to pay in terms of interest or dividends at the right time, because something is happening. The haircut is happening, we don't know. So whoever says that's not his business is a lie. Your mom, your grandmom has suffered due to this haircuts, and people have even lost their lives. So we plead with government to sometimes listen to the key experts, come to table with them and discuss how best some of these financial and economic issues can be addressed, so that we will not go that deep into the gullies where people even lose their lives because they cannot access their own resources that they decided to put aside for the future.
Auntie Joyce, what will you do with $7 million?
$7 million?
Yes.
I will empower marginalized women, rural women, dropout girls, teenage mothers, and put them in a situation, in a sustainable situation, where life will be meaningful to them to break the poverty cycle.
The amount of money could be won by Ghana if they do well in the AFCON, because that's the prize for the winner of the AFCON 2023. I don't know whether you've heard about it, but the Confederation of African Football, that's CAF, has announced a 40% increase in the prize money for the winner of the 2023 Total Energies Africa Cup of Nations, to be held in Cote d'Ivoire from January 13 to February 11. Now, the winner will receive $7 million as against $5 million given to the previous winners, Senegal, in 2021. Now, the runner-up will also get $4 million, while each of the two semi-finalists will receive $2.5 million, and each of the four quarter-finalists will get $1.3 million. And CAF announced this Thursday. Do you think Ghana can qualify?
If you ask me...
Not qualify, because they are going to do it anyway, but do you think Ghana will win?
There has been a lot of hue and cry about the football management in this country, and I follow. I'm not a critical, and I'm not an ardent follower of football, but I'm interested where Ghana is making progress towards winning, where our footballers out there are also creating very strong impacts. Their names are mentioned and becomes glory to us.
Right.
Somebody like Kudus. I don't know Kudus, but Kudus is a live wire in the West Ham United team. And so now that he's even leaving to come and join our team here, it's becoming a problem for West Ham. Football is business, is big, provided we manage it well. I was saddened when one of the football pundits had to complain about the Accra Sports Stadium being used for musical concerts. I mean, sports is a tool that can bring development, that can bring communities, nations together. Polarized systems like we have here can unite all of us. But people are complaining about football management. I don't know exactly. The last one I heard was when Black Stars were supposed to go to South Africa for their training session. Number one, South Africa, the weather is not the same as Ghana.
Well, that's not the first time Ghana has actually gone to South Africa to prepare for the games anyway. They've been doing that for some time. I mean, they hardly even stay in the country to do that.
But look, we are suffering economic crisis. We don't have resources.
Well, you have a
And
point
Côte d'Ivoire is just a next door. Mm-hmm. So why can't we do our training sessions here where we will appreciate the weather and all those things, and then without stress, move in and then engage in the tournament, rather than traveling, the cost, the hotel, and the stress.
But if we had the facilities, or the other African nations had those facilities, we would have stayed.
You've just mentioned facility. They've been winning certain tournaments that could have helped improved facilities, football facilities around the country. Where are we, if you look at Accra Sports Stadium and our preparedness to win the AFCON? If you ask me, we will do our best. We'll give them the support and cheer them up. But they are equally stronger, teams out there who are vying for the 7 million.
That's a joy. Do you have faith?
I have faith.
Do you think
but this faith, I'm scared. I'm not sure of this faith.
But if they should win the prize money, what will it mean for the sport in Ghana?
Of course, if they would do the right things, put their priorities right, repackage football in Ghana, and get the key people to put the structures, the infrastructure in place, and reward. Players, some of these are local players, they take as low as 500 Ghana cedis a month. Can you imagine?
Yes.
When his colleague is taking about 50,000 pounds every week. Please, we have to be very serious with our football. And I am a football fan, and I wish Ghana will be there as any other nation. But Mali is coming. They are very stronger for Egypt. Will not sit.
Well, Ghana has won the cup 4 times. 1963, 1965, 1978, and the last one in 1982.
How many years ago?
Can you imagine? I think more than 40 or years ago. And if this should happen, we're hoping they win. But what do you also think about the new coach, Chris Hilton?
Ghanaians are full of criticizing people. Immediately the man stepped in that shoe, people started running all meanings and not having faith in him. So when things happen like that, the man himself is become worried as to what the citizenry think about. Immediately others were shouting that he should go. He should go. We had Akwesi-Appiah, our own, and yet we said he wasn't good enough. We dropped him and brought another person. So Ghanaians should give coaches, and this our coach, a chance to travel a distance with the team, and then we can draw conclusions. I think this coach has been around for maybe 2 or 3 years.
But there's this local balance that if you are really, going to ensure that these people are going to win the game, we have to see something. But since then,
now what it takes to make the game very interesting and exciting, it's not there.
Anyway, I wish we could go on and on about the Black Stars, but unfortunately, when you're having fun, the time seems to be going so fast. Thank you so much, Auntie Joyce, for coming on the AM show this morning. We are so glad you made it. And that's it for the news review here on the AM show. Definitely, I think sports will have more to discuss on this prize money for the AFCON. Up next is sports.
Yes, thank you very much. I hope it was nice.